All right, day 21 and 22 of my 40-day water fast. I'm just going to do the numbers. So, last left off on day 20, I was down to 195.4. And so day 21 dropped down to 193. And then today, day 22, dropped down again, down to 191.2. Did not get a good, this last day did not get, the readings didn't come out very good with the pH and the ketone strips. So, but on day 21, pH 5.75, ketone was about 7. And I don't remember what time I went to sleep. I guess I didn't put that on there. But I think I went to bed at like 2, something like that. Went to bed about 2 a.m. and then woke up about 9:30 this morning. Previous night on the 21st, I didn't get to bed till like 4:46 in the morning, and then woke up at 10:15. Sometimes I get a little caught up on doing, experimenting with things. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I remember. So the other night, on the evening of day 20, I decided that I hadn't seen the new Avatar movie yet. And I was like, man, I haven't seen Avatar, the original, in a long time. And so before I see Avatar 2, I should rewatch it. And so I did. And it was already kind of late at night, and it's like a 3-hour movie. So I think I just started watching it it was well after midnight. And I started watching it, and I was like, well, I'll just watch a little bit. And of course, got sucked into it, and I was just like, all right, I'm watching the whole thing. And so that's why I was up till 4:46 in the morning. And again, it was it was good. And I was glad, just rewatched it, and I was like, okay, I remember it, and I was like, yeah, there was a lot of cool things that I now recalled about it. And then tonight, I went out and watched the new Avatar, Avatar Way of Water. But this time, did it with testing out, made a little bit of like hot water, got some hot tea, picked up some hot tea, put in a little bit of shrooms in the tea, just as a little mood enhancer, enhance the emotions, enhance the color perception, and then a little bit of a little bit of ketamine, and it really enhances the movie. Like, it was pretty wild, actually. That combination, actually, it felt like it unlocked a lot more like deeper, more profound, like archetypal, mythical elements that I might not have noticed had I just gone in totally sober, and it was actually so profound, actually, that it just blew my mind open, because I was seeing so many layers and different references to different archetypal deep meanings, and I was just like, it felt like just like just a fire hydrant of downloading information. And like one of the things that really hit me when watching this tonight, and I saw it in the best screen I could find in San Francisco, so went to the AMC Metreon IMAX screen, which is the biggest screen in the city, IMAX 3D, and it was way better than I was expecting. I wasn't sure what to expect. Part of me was just like, okay, it's a little bit better, but I mean, it was just like it was like the difference between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 kind of thing. Like Terminator 1 was solid, classic, all that, and then Terminator 2 just like upped the ante in every level. It was like that. It was just like it upped the ante on so many levels. It was just like it felt like the movie was like 10 times more the movie felt 10 times more impressive than the original. But like I said, way beyond just the visuals, it was just, it was definitely so much more of an emotional movie for me. And like, again, like going in there with, that combination, taking those other substances, it just like opened my mind and opened my heart in a way that I just don't see it would have happened otherwise. And man, I was crying. There was definitely times in the movie I am just like, I'm in tears because it was hitting me so fucking hard. And like one of the profound things the takeaways that I got was, it's like the play and the dance of like the dark and the light, life and death, and like the balance between the masculine and the feminine, that at its root, the masculine is like rooted in the reptilian, the mammalian, the critter brain, the base level brain, where it's all about like life, death, survival, protection. It's like black and white. Am I alive? Am I not? Am I alive? As long as I'm not dead, I'm good. And it's just like that kind of on off, more black and white kind of thinking. Whereas, and so that I could really start to see how that correlates to it. And that's part of the conflict. It's like they both like complement each other, support each other, but at times almost seem to be in direct conflict because they're speaking totally different languages. So that first half, masculine, it's like the reptilian, the mammalian, the critter brain. And then on top of that, then you have the feminine, which is the limbic system of the brain, of the mind. The brain. I'll just stick with the brain. And where like it's all about the sensory, the emotions, the feelings, the contextualization, the context. Everything is contextual, organic, multidimensional, parallel. And like that is just like a completely different language. It's like a 3-dimensional world trying to speak to a 2-dimensional world with the mammalian, the critter brain. And so I was really seeing that, watching it in that state, just being in that super perceptive state, and just like really just downloading all this stuff, with the story arc and just like all the relationships and the, and the struggles between the family and, father and mother and the children and, and the different races, the different species intermixing, and like, oh man, it was just crazy. But it just like unlocked something in that dimension that I hadn't made that connection before. And like, that's part of why the polarity, it's that polarity of difference, the masculine and the feminine, the mammalian reptile part of our brain, the start, the more fundamental basic, and then you have the limbic on top of that. It's like they work together, but they communicate and think in completely different ways. And so you really see in this movie like the fighting and the conflict between these two. Like, they're trying to live together, they complement each other, but then they're also simultaneously trying to kill each other at the same time. Because one's like, this is the way things are, and the other one's like, no, this is the way things are. But they're literally having completely two different realities. And yet they're simultaneously both necessary. So I don't know. It's like, it's interesting. Like the third layer, the corresponding to the cerebral cortex, the third layer, almost like the egoic layer. But I'm not sure yet. That one, I'm still kind of piecing it together. Because at first I was thinking, oh, is it like spirit? But no, it's got to be. Yeah, it's definitely like the intellect. So it's something with the ego. And then like the spirit is like the other, something with the spirit, energetic spirit, like, the finger of God kind of thing. There's some other spirit element that's kind of like in the middle of all of it. Something like that. It's like the three dimensions, the feminine, the masculine, and then that intellect, the egoic intellect, of that type of intelligence. And then like in that triangle, the Trinity, and then inside of that Trinity is then that spirit element, which then, think of like a three-sided pyramid. When you don't have that center one that rises up, then it's flat. But then once you add that fourth, then it would rise up and then become, like a three-sided pyramid. I mean, most pyramids are usually four-sided, but in this example, I'm just thinking just a three-sided pyramid. Might not be the right word, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, it was just really profound. It was really profound seeing that. So I highly recommend, if anyone's going to see Avatar: Way of Water, definitely watch it with microdose of some good good shrooms and a little, and like just a moderate amount of a little moderate amount of ketamine. It just unlocks it. It unlocks the movie in a way. You don't want to do too much because then you can kind of like get too like disassociated. But it opens up things in your mind in a way that you might be like more narrowed in when you're watching it. Yeah, I don't even want to. I don't even like going to movies anymore, like without taking something, because it's such an enhancer to the experience, and I just noticed that I see so much more. There's so much that I otherwise normally miss, and like some of the emotions, the visceral emotions, aren't as fully experienced, and I it's like, so when I was in there, it just like opens up everything. I'm just like the feelings, the emotions, the heart, the spirit of it. It's just like, man, it was just so powerful. I mean, I was just like, yeah, it was intense. It was intense. Hands down, it's yeah, it might be probably one of the best movie going experiences I've ever had. That combination of everything, just how epic the movie was, the IMAX plus the 3D plus doing all, with the two substances. I mean, I've seen other movies before where I just did a little bit of shrooms and then just kind of enhanced the emotions of it. But something about also doing just a little bit of, yeah, if you do just a little bit of prescription ketamine, because you can get prescriptions, taking a little bit of prescription ketamine, and then watch the movie, man, it unlocks things. It unlocks things to a degree that it's amazing. I can't. It's like I wouldn't even bother going to see a big, huge movie that's like some big epic movie and not do it this way. It's like you get so much more value out of it. It's so much more powerful. It's such a better experience. So, so definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, that's a good combination. That's an epic combination. Yeah, and I just had a big, huge vision of things. Like a lot of details came out to me. And it was just epic. Just a much grander vision of what to do. Doing this kind of healing work. And I'm just so much more inspired. I was like inspired and giddy. I'd say giddy is definitely, I left there just feeling so giddy and inspired. I was just like fantastical vision of what's possible now that I could see it. The pieces are falling into place. It makes me think of that speech from Steve Jobs where he's like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. And tonight I suddenly saw a whole bunch of dots connecting that I was like, oh my God, that's different people that I met, things that I'd done in years past, certain things that I thought were just like done and gone. I was like, wait a second, there's something really powerful here. And it's time for me to, like when the time is right to go back and dust those off, reconnect certain connections that had faded away. It's time to go back and reconnect with those. And I could see it. I feel it. It's, I know I'm being kind of vague right now, but for obvious reasons, I can't go into too much detail on this because it's a little sensitive in terms of specific names and exactly what I'm doing here. But, yeah, I'm excited. I'm also excited. It's like I'm officially past the halfway mark, with this 40-day Waterfast. And clearly I've been doing things other than just water and electrolytes. And admittedly on one of the days, on yesterday, was it yesterday or today? Might have been today. I think this morning. No, it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. I went to go get a tea, and I thought it was just tea, but then I think they just put a tiny splash of a little bit of milk in it. And then I started drinking it, but it had the lid on it initially, and then so I was drinking it, and then only later, after I drank part of it, I was like, oh shit, but then I'd already drank most of it, so I was like, well, but I was like, just splash, maybe just a couple of so I don't know. That was a little like technically, but at this point, I'm not being 100% purist. It's like, oh, you had 5 calories, you violated. Not exactly breaking a meal or something. So forgive me. So I think so that might have affected my ketones just ever so slightly, but for the most part, I was still feeling pretty much the same today. I think I had like a slightly more feeling, kind of cravings, kind of slightly kind of passing through me a little bit today. But then in the later half of the day, they just subsided again. And like right now, I feel totally back as I did 2 days ago in terms of just desire for food. And actually went out to a Denny's with my friend who went to go see Avatar with. Yeah, so he ate a bunch of food in front of me, and I'm like looking at the menu, and it's like, yeah, it's definitely weird. I'm just like looking at these pretty color pictures, but they're just color pictures to me. Like I don't feel any attachment whatsoever. It's like no attachment, no pull, no desire towards any of the food. I would just went in for some tea and like a little bit of lemon. Just had some Lipton, some caffeine-free Lipton tea, hot water, tea bags, hot water, and a little spritz of lemon, and that's it. And then I just drank a few cups of that. While my buddy munched down on a bunch of eggs and hash browns and mozzarella sticks and pancakes and all that stuff. And and he just enjoyed the hell out of himself, and I'm just fooling around. But like the thought never even crossed my mind, the feeling never even came up to like, oh, I want to try some of that. It was just like, it's just some substance that's sitting in front of me, and it's pretty, but my main thing was just like, oh, my friend's enjoying himself and he's getting full, and all I care about is just the warmth feeling of that nice hot tea, the mug in my hands, the warm feeling in my hands, and the nice soothing feeling as I'm just drinking that warm hot tea, and just feeling in my throat, just feeling just nice soothing feeling, and like I'm totally content and nothing else. So yeah, it's a very odd feeling. It's peculiar. Maybe peculiar is better. Peculiar feeling, and it's like, and I know that this experience I'm having right now is temporary. It's very temporal. I'm in it now. It's a temporary state of being just totally detached from food, detached from desire for food. But it's a really powerful, fascinating experience to know that you can have this feeling of like no attachment. It's almost like, just imagine like kind of bring it up again, just like capture this feeling and just like store it and just be like, okay, I can access and like recall this feeling of no attachment, like it's like a very Buddhist thing of just like no attachment. It's like, life is suffering, and the way to avoid the suffering is just to not be attached. And it's true. I mean, because I don't feel any attachment to any food right now. I'm sitting there, and other people are like, oh my God, most people right now would be like, oh my God, how could you stand like all these days? And I'm like, it's it's like effortless actually right now, because I literally have no attachment, no desire for any food. I mean, it's like, I'd say like 99.5%. I'll give it a half of 1%. A sprinkling of possible desire that might be in there, but it's so minuscule. It's practically insignificant. I'm just like, okay, at some point I could tip the scale, but the desire is so non-existent that it's just like, whatever. The will and the value of why I'm doing it is so much greater than any minuscule fulfillment from suddenly just eating some food. Right now, it just doesn't even come. Yeah, it doesn't compare at all. And again, it seems counter. It feels like that could be very counterintuitive, especially when you're just going into a fast, and if you're like on day 2 or day 3 of starting a long fast. It may seem like you're gonna be like craving and desiring food forever. Like every day is gonna get worse and worse, but it's not. The opposite happens. It initially gets worse and worse, and then tapers off, and then finally just goes to a place where you don't care. You have no desire. It's weird. It's weird, and it's interesting. It's beautiful. It's profound. It's all of the above. And it's just a special place. And and I appreciate these days that I'm here, because I know that quite possibly this may be one of the last times I ever do a 40-day water fast again. So, I mean, there's a chance I might do another long water fast at some point, but assuming that I never get like super overweight ever again, I just wouldn't have it in me to be able to do this long. If I'm already lean, 40 days would just be too much. So as I'm going through this, I'm just feeling like taking moments to just cherish this time, and just appreciate, and just I feel like a lot of appreciation, a lot of like gratitude, a lot of feeling of gratitude right now of just having this special experience. That's and I know most people never experience this kind of experience, and so it's very personal, intimate, and very spiritual experience. It's just I feel it's just like deeper connections with higher places. Definitely feeling much more connected to some kind of spirit, some kind of driving force, some kind of energy, some kind of higher intelligence that's outside of this dimension. That's like feels like it's guiding me, leading me, assisting me in like unrolling some kind of greater narrative, some greater story, some greater adventure. And it's just profound. It's as much as sometimes people just like, some people think, everything's just super random. I don't know. definitely doesn't seem random anymore. There's too many serendipitous, coincidental moments that it's getting, things are getting almost spooky, but in a good kind of spooky. I'm totally into the spooky serendipity now. It's making me smile. It's making me smile more and more. And I'm feeling like, yeah, I've like a greater faith. Not faith in any religion, anything like that. It's like greater faith in this serendipitous, orchestrated from a higher place, spiritual place. Just like I see all, just feeling and seeing and experiencing all these pieces coming together. I'm just having, it's just like really building up my own faith that the more I just continue just to totally trust in this higher place feeling, that just this feeling of some kind of spirit guiding me, that I can trust to just take these leaps without needing any kind of verification or like proof, because things just like, the more I do it, the more things just seem like they're just working out. And even if it feels like it's like right on the razor's edge, like there's nothing left, something like that spirit feeling just tells me like, go, leap, even if you got nothing to show, just do it. And I just believe that it's just going to work out, because it feels like that. And it's like it's becoming a knowing kind of sense now, not just like, well, maybe, but now it's like, man, this is it just seems so spot on. Like, when every time I just go for it, it's not, it never gets proven wrong, so yeah, just increasing my faith in following that spirit, that higher power voice that speaks to me, that speaks to my heart, and just like puts these certain visions in my mind, these grand visions of things that are just like after tonight, I had this feeling of holy crap, after the vision that I saw tonight, so many of my other like seemingly problems and challenges and stuff seemed so like minuscule and inconsequential. I mean, they still need to get dealt with, but they were like barely a footnote, it barely even warrants a footnote. That's what's so cool. It's like, you have problems, and I don't think Tony Robbins said this before. I don't know if he said it or someone he heard it from, or somebody. It's just like, your solution to your problems is to get much bigger problems. And then by contrast, by comparison, your seemingly your problems you have compared to these much bigger problems you're taking on, now they seem like pretty small, and then you just will now treat them as they're small. But the problem is, like, if you treat your small problems as big problems, then they're big problems in your mind, and then they just fester and get out of hand and never get resolved. And I could totally see that for myself too. I had a lot of problems that I just neglected and ignored and avoided. But now, after seeing seeing the vision of what I'm at, of what's, I believe, is like destiny. I mean, it feels like destiny at this point, destined to occur. And I'm just like, this will happen. I see it now. This is where it's going. This is where I'm going. So I'm just like, shit, I gotta fucking take care of those other issues and just knock them out. Just get them done as quickly as possible so I can get them out of the way, instead of like dragging on, like I had been doing, and just avoiding. Now it's just like, how can I solve these as fast as possible, get them out of the way so I can move on, and just like no attachment, boom, 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 how can I cut, do it as fast and efficient, cut some corners, whatever, just get it done, get it over with. Don't prolong dealing with these stupid little problems. They're, they need to be done, but, little messes and stuff. But I see now, it's just like, wow, I can get these all cleaned up in a very, very rapid manner. And that's what I like to do for this year, 2023. By the end of 2023, just have all my main messes and stupid little messes just cleaned up, and just complete this year with that transition of just like building a new solid foundation of orderliness and integrity, orderliness, and spaciousness as well. Spaciousness and spirit and beauty and artistry and possibility, like just like very fertile grounds to then grow and rise to the occasion of what I'm seeing, this greater vision. So it's definitely, but I could see that things can happen. Some things could take a long time, and other things can happen way more rapid than you think. So I think the other thing is don't stay attached to the idea that things have to take a long time. Some things will just take as long as they take. Other things, you put in your mind, it's like, oh, it must take a year, or it must take 5 years or 3 years or whatever. What if it only takes 6 months? What if it can happen in 3 months? But then it's gonna, but then it would happen in a new way, a different way than what you were imagining. But you don't want to reject that. Oh, well, because it's not done the way I envisioned it should be done, then therefore I have to reject it. But it'll happen way faster, So, staying open mind, an open heart, being open vessel to receive communication from higher planes of consciousness, and spirit. Just like it's way more intelligent, way beyond anything you can imagine, that you individually can understand. And so, yeah, it's like literally the big picture. It's like you're still relative, as an individual with limited perspective, but like receiving instruction from this higher plane, it knows infinitely more, and you may not understand at the time, but I'm just learning to just trust that more, because I'm just like, it clearly understands things that I don't understand now, but over time I'm discovering like, oh crap, that's damn, now it makes sense why it's like that, why that happened, why I went through that, why I suffered in that one way, or this worked a certain way or that didn't, and yada yada yada. So anyways, So I think that's enough. Let's see. Okay. Now this is interesting. I think I was kind of scratching this one. It's kind of all reddish again. This guy on the right. Yeah, I don't know. Seems similar, but it almost seems like it's almost like it's gonna wanting to like scab up or something. So I think it's like another phase. It feels like it might be going into like another phase of healing. You know, where you have a wound that just like scabs up, and so it might be that. It might be that's what's happening. It's kind of going into like scaling, scabbing over kind of state. You know, like I can see it over here. And so, yeah, itching wise, when I rub it like this, doesn't really itch much. Used before, it itched like crazy all the time. I had to like really fight to not itch it. But now it's only subtly itchy. So, yeah, but I clearly scratched a little too hard on a couple of spots earlier. Yeah, so this looks like, as much as I thought it was going to be day 20, day 25. Yeah, this looks like it may require the entire length of the 40-day fast to finally heal. Put a little lotion on this earlier this morning. Yeah, it's a little itchy right there. But yeah, so looks like it's probably going to be well past the month mark before this thing is actually healed up. I believe that definitely by day 40 this should be pretty much gone. This should be gone or pretty much gone, I think, by day 40. That's I'm counting on that. And again, if I feel like I can go a little bit past 40 days, then I'll go a little past 40 days. And just take it one, like half day at a time kind of thing. Oh man, now it's a little itchy right there. All of a sudden, it's flaking. It's flaking, but it'll be nice when these are finally gone. This is nice and healed up, and I can finally wear shorts again. All right, well, that was probably a little gross. And I know this has gone a bit long, so long in the tooth, as they say. All right, yeah, so it's like 3 a.m. Got to work again tomorrow. Took off work today. It was good. Focused on some other things. Working on building the new client base. And I'm just super inspired right now. I'm just excited about the future and what's coming next. I'm so stoked right now, so only officially 18 days left. But could do 20 more days. Maybe I'll go for 42 days. I don't know. I'll just let my true hunger response and the starvation signal that I experienced once before. If those two fire off, then it's time to end it. It's time to end it right then and there. But I've definitely been keeping up with the electrolytes, lots of salts. So I'm definitely fully salted up. So good on that department. And overall, I'm feeling pretty good. Head's pretty good. And yeah. All right, on to day 23. Yeah, 23. Might do another combo, 23, 24. Or just do 23. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Till next one.